from the porch. It's a cold, brisk morning, and I'm here with Christine Benoit. And if you haven't met her yet, then you need to. She has her Benoit Original Salon and kind of downtown Waller, our big downtown. And just several people were saying, you need to interview her. She's really fun. You need to get to know her. So here we are. And so, why were they saying that? Tell me about you. How long have you been in Waller?
I've been in Waller since 1999. We moved here when I was in the fourth grade. And my mom actually bought a home out like on the outskirts off 1736. And so she actually didn't know at the time it was Waller School District. So it was really funny. So that was a fun transition. And we just loved it. It was very quaint. I loved the small town. And I was always very, very big on community and school spirit just from the beginning. So I actually started in Spirit Stars in fourth grade. And I think that was just the full foot forward with Teresa Miller and Krista Miller. And so I think that because I've had such a foot planted in the community, maybe that's why. It's because I've kind of been here a long time. So, I mean, I'm 35, so 9 to 35. So kind of an OG, I guess you could say, as far as my generation goes. Been here a long time.
That's when we moved to Waller too, was fourth grade, so we kind of have that in common. But you said you started in Hempstead.
Yeah, so we actually lived in Hempstead for a few years. I was there from kindergarten to third grade, so it was kind of funny because it was small enough to where Hempstead and Waller was, kind of combined. If you knew people in Waller, you knew people in Hempstead. And so I've had the same friends, basically, that were in the same groups even though I moved, it was still easy to hang out with the same people normally on a general occasion.
Yeah, so you said your mother worked at Lawrence Marshall?
Yeah, so my mom and dad worked at Lawrence Marshall actually when we first moved here. We lived in Deerwood Lakes when we first came in, and before we moved to Hempstead, and they lived there for a few years. It was a cute little house on A Street, and just growing up around there, my brother graduated from Hempstead, and then we actually ended up staying around the area. My parents worked at Lawrence Marshall until the big shutdown in, I think it was 2009, February. And actually, I worked at Lawrence Marshall for 6 months. Well, actually, it wasn't a full 6 months, but I did reception there. My mom sold in the fleet department. My dad worked in the service department. And when it closed down, it was kind of a decision-making situation. I was a single mom, and so I kind of had to decide, okay, so do I go to work and find somewhere else? Or do I find a trade so I can be successful? And I was laid off on a Thursday, and I had an interview at a beauty school on Saturday, and I started the next Tuesday. And I finished school in 12 months. My mom was very supportive. My mom and dad both were. I was not allowed to work while I was in beauty school, so they helped support me and my son throughout the duration that I was in school. It was a trying time. And I mean, driving from Waller to Tomball daily for a year, was difficult. But I mean, that was truly the turning point, I think, in my life where I had to make a decision like, okay, let's find something. And I actually went in for makeup and fell in love with hair later. So I was probably in cosmetology school for a good 2 to 3 months before I was like, I might actually be good at this hair thing too. So, I mean, little 18-year-old me starting off in cosmetology school with, a 1-year-old. It was definitely a journey.
Wow.
Yeah.
It's impressive. Okay, so what was your first job then?
So my first job, funny enough, was I stopped by Tony and Company, which was a large salon in town, and I spoke with Tony one-on-one, and I was still in beauty school, and I asked her about starting there. And she said, of course. And Tony played a really big part as far as being like a very big moral supporter. She gave me my first opportunity, and I worked there for 11 years.
Oh, wow.
Yes. And actually, funny story enough, we ended up living in her garage apartment for 2 years. It was me and my oldest son and my husband, but we had just gotten engaged. Actually, we met through Tony because I asked Tony, hey, do you know this Marcus Benoit guy? And she was like, yeah. She was like, well, if you don't go out with him, I will. And so it just kind of kicked off from there. And even with, when you talk about being drawn into the community, R&R Jewelers was kind of going out of business at the time, and Rindy put some stuff into the salon, and it was a case of jewelry, and one of them was a ring. And Tony and Marcus actually made this whole thing up that a gentleman came in and bought this ring. And Tony was like, oh man, that one was so pretty. I was like, it was. Funny enough, that was the exact ring that Marcus proposed to.
I love it.
For New Year's Eve that year. And Tony was there and everything with my family. And I mean, you know, it's just so funny. There's that thing called the ripple effect, right? That I learned from a mentor in Utah. And every little thing always has a ripple effect. And I feel like that's like a big part of where I stand in this community. I mean, even connecting Rindy and Tony and my family. And I mean, being at the salon for 11 years, I got to meet amazing individuals throughout my journey here. I mean, building my clientele and really also people letting me venture out. Like, people were very trusting and they were very open to trying new things. If I would go to a hair show, they'd be like, oh yeah, I'm down. Like, it was just a very open welcome going into that salon and working with all the girls there.
Nice.
The transition came 2020, of course, and that's when things changed.
Yeah, so what happened to you in 2020?
So 2020, we're working and we get a text and it's basically like, oh, we're going to be down for another week. And I was like, oh man, like, okay, school kids are out for another week. And then at the end of that week, they shut us down for 8 weeks. So, I mean, the state, you know, considered it to be basically illegal to be working. And they had a special people out there to arrest people who were working. Mm-hmm. And so that was a very trying time. For 8 weeks, I had no income. And at the time, that was a lot for me because I'm not going to lie. It was very, I have a word for every year. 2020 was humbled.
Wow.
Because I was like, hair, I mean, everybody needed hair in the Great Depression and all these moments. And in that moment, I was told no. And I had to reroute my brain to think, okay, well, where do I really need to be? And it was at home with my family. Because that was when the online stuff kicked off. Marcus started a garden because obviously our income was cut in half. We had a big garden in the back. We had eggs because we had ducks finally. Like, we were learning to really take the little things. And I was very humbled in that experience. And I really think that time frame shaped me to who I am as a business owner and a person today, because that trivial moment, those 8 weeks were very intense. Because I was also very sick, 28 of them.
Okay.
And so that was a big thing too, because I mean, what was going to happen if something happened to me? It was a very scary time. If I go to the hospital, is something going to go wrong? Like, so I just kind of wrote it out at home. Mm-hmm. And it was kind of scary, but it did make you stop and think about what was important. And obviously, my family is what took the lead on that, if that makes sense.
Yeah, yeah. Well, that was kind of part of my going into politics, actually, was my frustration with the federal overreach and kind of a little bit of how things happened during that time. So it was a big turning point for a lot of people, just everything that happened, whether it was the fear or people going out of business. It really, I'm an accountant, so I'm very much about, you know, how do we make money and how do we be creative during that time. You were very creative. I'm really impressed. But it got me frustrated that I don't want ever that to happen again.
Right.
I mean, even my hairstylist, we were all like, I'm like, can you come out and do 6 of us at the barn? You know, we can come out here, we'll be out in the open. And she wouldn't come, though.
They really placed a fear factor in us in that time. And I mean, rightfully so. Unfortunately, I did lose my grandmother to COVID complications in 2021. And so I understand where the fear, you know, resided. But I mean, it was so funny because I grew up admiring Mary Kay Ash because my mom sold Mary Kay. And I think sometimes when you do get in a steadfast money situation and you're making a lot of money, you forget God, family, then career. Sometimes those can get a little bit jumbled. And I feel like 2020 for me really kind of repurposed that.
That's good.
Like solidarity for that situation.
Nice, nice. So, I love her videos. If you haven't seen on Facebook some of her videos and her fun different ways to color, just stuff that she does in the salon. What is your favorite part of doing hair? Is there a favorite method, favorite?
I would have to say the transformations, but not just the transformations because they're really pretty. The transformations that change people's lives. And what I mean by that is giving someone pretty hair that normally wouldn't feel pretty And so what started that was in 2021, I took a very, very large, expensive leap to Utah and took an extension course. I became allergic to tape-in extensions and fusion extensions, and I actually ended up having a very large surgery in 2020 on my carpal and cubital tunnel. So extensions were kind of put on the back burner. But what people don't talk about is that feeling when someone is going through a struggle with hair loss or can't maybe afford a color every 6 weeks. Giving someone the option to feel beautiful and feel confident again, when you make it budget based. So I try to make things budget friendly. Love that, because they can only come once every 6 months if they choose to do so. Gray blending for women who don't want to have to color their hair every 6 to 8 weeks. Like, we can blend it, but they still feel beautiful. When you put in extensions from someone who's gone through life changes, hair holds trauma, and sometimes it lets it off itself, or you have to cut it off. But for those circumstances, for those women who aren't ready to do that, I can help them in the transition period of life. And there's some reveal videos where you can just see in their face that they are forever grateful, and they actually feel beautiful. Not just because someone's telling them, or someone's like, oh, your color looks great. No, your hair looks beautiful. You look beautiful today. And those transformations are my absolute favorite. Those will stay with me forever.
I love you're able to be in the moment with people like that and just be present and celebrate with them. That's really neat.
I think intentional presence is a big deal when you're working with clients. Because I tell my girls, doing hair is only 20% of the job. But 80% of the reason they're there is you. Mm-hmm. And whatever impact you may make in that 30 minutes or 3 hours, sometimes 5 hours that they're with you, can be very trivial in their life. They don't normally have that much time to sit and talk with people. Mm-hmm. It's very unique. It's a very passionate, unique experience for me. And that's where Benoit Original came from, was the originality of every single client's experience is different, because every person's needs are different. Mm-hmm. And you have to meet them each intentionally, if that makes sense.
No, it does.
That's my absolute favorite part of my job.
I get it, because I've been in many chairs, having our hair done, and you have time to slow down and have those conversations, which is kind of what we're doing here, right? But mm-hmm. you get to kind of do it every day. Most people don't take that time, but you are one of the ones. Again, last somebody said I should talk to you because they know that you're very present and they are appreciating you. So.
Well, we deal with so many impactful moments in their lives. I'm pregnant. I have cancer. My husband and me are getting a divorce. My kid's graduating. My kid's moving to a different state. Like, all of these moments that impact us as a single person. Imagine having to talk someone through that individually. Like, it's not just hair. Mm-hmm. And I try to remind people of that all the time. It's so much more than just hair.
When you get to do proms and weddings and fun things too.
Yeah, I've done over 100 weddings in my career. I actually did have to step back from that, but I do it for those special few, just those few that are my clients, just because, this is a very physically impacting job, and I am not a spring chicken anymore, 35 is still young, but, finding a nice pace yes. and keeping that pace is so important, or else you end up kind of burnt out. Mm-hmm. And that's really what I try to avoid, is a burnout situation in my salon, for not just myself, but my girls as well.
Mm-hmm. So what else do you do in the community, though, besides hair? Like, just to stay connected, are there other things you're involved in?
My favorite thing to do in the community is career day. I have done over 15 career days amongst the community, whether it was elementary, junior high, or high school. I actually have a very large passion for teaching. And not just teaching, how to do hair, but I just enjoy working with the youth so much that it brings me a lot of joy. That's why I like to offer, for girls to come and do apprenticeship programs, or, there was one year that we used the boutique to get a few clothing items together for kids in need so they could, rock some stuff from a local boutique. Like, that was so fun. I really like to work as much in the community as I possibly can. But I have to say, I think Career Day takes the cake. It's just talking with those few unique students. And I've even done, at the junior high, there was a career class, and I've done interviews with junior high students. Like, you hold them like they're actual interviews, and that is so much fun. Because you really get to see these kids with passion. Mm-hmm. And you get to see these kids who have drive, and you just know, man, like, that kid is going to walk in one day and really take off and change the world.
Yeah.
I really do feel like that.
I was blessed to get to be part of doing the Shark Tank thing for the DECA students.
Oh, yes!
So, and, you know, and as an entrepreneur, it's fun just to be able to come in, you know, to see their ideas. And so, honestly, they didn't feel like they needed that much from us. They're really doing a good job of teaching them. Mm-hmm. There's so many trade school they're preparing them for their cosmetology in high school now. I love that they're getting them ready for work immediately, for a decent job right when they graduate, or apprenticeship at least.
I was a part of the CTE program at the high school for a while as well, and, you know, helping them, even when it wasn't cosmetology based. I mean, just seeing the direction that the high school was able to build with the CTE program was awesome, astronomical. I've written letters to the region to keep the funding because how important cosmetology school is, how important it is to understand, like, their debt to income ratio is way lower when they come out of cosmetology because they're going to work right away. Mm-hmm. They're not having to build all this interest and student loans and things like that. But not saying that that's a bad thing, but I mean, having a trade is definitely proving to be very, very helpful, especially in this generation. And I think that's important.
So, why have you stayed in this community now? Like, do you have options to move or leave? What is it that you love about it, or what is the main things?
I think that a lot of the time when I think of leaving, I kind of can't. There's a certain feel when you walk through even Main Street. There's a certain feel when you see these little businesses popping up and you can go support them, and, you know, it brings a smile to their face. Like, you hand them a $5 tip, and not saying that that's what matters, but it does. They're doing what they love in a small community, and that would be very hard to support in a larger town. And trust me, we've definitely thought about it, because I'm not gonna lie, the success that I would probably feel would probably be a lot larger financially, but it's not always about money. I think it's about a certain freedom, and it's a freedom of balance and a freedom of choice, and the opportunity that I get to drive 8 minutes from work, and the average American has to sit for an hour in traffic. I get to homeschool my kids in a safe neighborhood, even though we're definitely more on the city side. You know, we're not really outside in the outskirts. And my husband was born and raised here, and he's made a big impact in the community as well, and we just try to be as supportive as we can, and leaving here would be very, very difficult for me just because I have so much love that I've just been drawn to here. So many memories, nostalgia, if you will, is kind of what keeps us here. And even though we've only been open 2.5 years, I always sit there and I'm like, I can't wait for someone to walk through the door and see this. I can't wait for someone to, like, I love meeting new people. That's what I would say.
And we have a lot of new people coming, so you feel like you're ready for this growth?
I feel like as a team we can be. You know, obviously, like, we're here and I can only take on so many clients, right? And so it's really important to help the youth develop and get some good apprentices in here, because your girl can only do so much. But
you can teach them.
I can teach them, and I think that if we just stand together as a community and continue to be welcoming and continue to really show our support towards the youth, I think that there really could be some great things to come. And I feel like it's just going to take a lot of teamwork. You know?
Well, I think that's what small community does, is you're going to have that support from different directions, and they don't have to drive as far, and people care.
Yeah.
So hopefully we can keep that small town feel as we grow. Anything else you want to share before we wrap it up?
No, I'm good.
Yeah, thank you so much for coming and out on your porch. It's a little bit of a cold morning. We have our sweaters on and our warm tea, so thank y'all for coming. Please subscribe and share with your friends so you can get to meet your next neighbor.